9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Please settle down. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth regular session, the third and final reading.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I now call the fourth regular session of the first Bangsamoro Youth Parliament in order. Let us all rise for the invocation to be followed by the singing of the national anthem and the singing of the Bangsamoro hymn.
Ay, sorry.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ولوالدينا وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا واغفر جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات ومنهم أحياء والأموات ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وادخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار آمين رب العالمين.
Bansang awit.
Let us all be seated. Requesting our Madam Secretary General to do the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Requesting the honorable parliamentarians to please stand as I call your committee. Committee on Education, 16. Committee on Health, 14. Committee on Governance, 16. Committee on Peace Building and Security, 16. Committee on Active Citizenship, 14. Mr. Speaker, there are 76 members of the Parliament present out of 80 parliamentarians.
Having 76 parliamentarians present in this session out of 80, I hereby declare the House in quorum. Requesting again our Madam Secretary General to tell us the minutes of meeting of the previous session.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Janice Zamora, the Secretary General. I was tasked to present the minutes of the meeting on our second reading on third session commenced 2:06 p.m. yesterday. Based on agenda on the second reading on the third session on proposed bills of 5 committees. Mr. Speaker, a resolution forwarding the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament bills and resolution to the Bangsamoro Youth Commission and NBank and the Bangsamoro Transition Authority of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The following bills deliberated on second reading and are adopted for final reading are, on the Committee on Education, an act mandating the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education to provide for the establishment of the Magna Carta for tertiary level students of Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. An act mandating the Ministry of Basic, Higher, Technical Education to institutionalize the creation of monitoring and evaluation of learning and facilities specialist centers and appropriating funds thereof. On the Committee on Governance, an act establishing the Bangsamoro Youth Electoral Reform. An act mandating the allocation of funds of at least 1% of provincial, city, and municipal local government units to its youth development offices and selected ministries within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. On Committee on Peace Building and Security, an act providing agricultural livelihood program for the Bangsamoro youth in conflict-affected areas in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao called Alipbay. An act establishing local youth centers in all LGUs in the Bangsamoro region and providing funds. Committee on Health, an act establishing committee-based mental health services in health units, appropriating funds thereof and for other purposes. An act strengthening Bangsamoro public health emergency preparedness. On Committee on Active Citizenship, an act requiring mandatory voter education program, and an act creating Youth with Disabilities or WYD task force in local government units, appropriating funds thereof and for other purposes. There are also 2 resolutions from the Active Citizenship and the Peace Building. On the Active Citizenship, a resolution proposing the equal and inclusive participation of all community-based youth sectors, geographical or ethnic group representation for all plans and programs focusing on youth development and empowerment in the Bangsamoro government. On the Peace Building, resolution supporting on the creation regional action plan on youth, peace and security, and national action plan in youth, peace, security. Mr. Speaker, a total of 10 bills and 2 resolutions was adopted and for final reading. This ends the summary of my minutes of the meeting.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of the previous journal presented by the good Secretary General.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the honorable members of this parliament, there is a motion from our majority floor leader for the adoption of the minutes of meeting of the previous session. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, the motion is adopted. Before we finally proceed to our order of business for today, my courtesy to the members of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority and to the in bank of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission. Indeed, the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament is both honored and privileged to have you join us this session. Majority Floor Leader, can you tell us the order of business for today?
My courtesy to all the distinguished commissioners, honorable members of the Parliament, and other dignitaries. Good morning. Mr. Speaker, upon the record of our Secretary General, we have only one agenda for this morning's session, particularly the third and final reading of the proposed bills and resolution of every committee.
Honorable members of this Parliament, for our session for today, we only have one agenda, and that is we are in the third and final approval of the bills that were passed during the second reading.
Mr. Chair, I move for the adoption of this morning's order of business.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from our Madam Majority Floor Leader for the adoption of today's order of business. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, the motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker, at this juncture, we will go with the motion for the final approval of the 10 bills and 2 resolutions of the committees as follows. Committee on Active Citizenship, Committee on Health, Committee on Education, Committee on Governance, and last but not the least, Committee on Peace Building and Security. Let me call on the committee chairperson of Committee on Active Citizenship to raise a motion for the final approval of the bill entitled An Act Requiring a Mandatory Voter Education Program. Mr. Chair, a lady from Lanao del Sur wants to be recognized.
The lady from Lanao is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I motion for the approval of the bill and act requiring mandatory voter education in the public and private junior and senior high schools under the supervision of the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education and providing funds thereof.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion from the good lady from the Committee on Active Citizenship for the final approval of their first priority bill. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chair, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill entitled An Act Requiring a Mandatory Voter Education Program from the Committee on Active Citizenship.
To finally decide on to whether we finally approve this priority bill coming from the Committee on Active Citizenship, let's divide the House. So, we're going to vote. If you are in favor of the motion, just stand up. And if you are not in favor, you may remain seated. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chair,
Let's now divide the House. For those who are in favor of the motion for the final approval of the first priority bill of the Committee on Active Citizenship, you may rise. Are we taking this on record, the numbers of those who stood up? Having recorded the votes, for those who are not in favor, I think that we have already noted the number of votes for those who are in favor and not in favor. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chair, out of 76 present in this noble House, 74 is in favor of the bill coming from the Committee on Active Citizenship.
Ladies and gentlemen, out of 76 who are present in this today's session, there are 74 who are in favor for the final approval of the first priority bill of the Committee on Active Citizenship. Therefore, taking that into consideration, the first priority bill of the Committee on Active Citizenship is therefore approved.
Mr. Chair, the lady from Lanao del Sur wants to be recognized.
The lady from Lanao del Sur is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I motion for the approval of the bill and act creating a youth with disabilities task force in local government units, appropriating funds thereof and for other purposes.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the good lady of Lanao del Sur from the Committee on Active Citizenship to finally approve their second priority bill.
Mr. Chair, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill.
We now move on to dividing the House. For those who are in favor of the motion, kindly rise. If we have already taken this into consideration, you may sit. And for those who are not in favor of this motion, kindly rise. Having considered the outcomes, Madam Majority Floor Leader,
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 present in this noble House, 76 is in favor of the bill coming from the Committee on Active Citizenship.
ladies and gentlemen, honorable parliamentarians, out of 76 present today, there are 76 who are in favor for the final approval of the second priority bill of the Committee on Active Citizenship. Taking that into consideration, the motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, the lady from Lanao del Sur wants to be recognized.
The lady from Lanao del Sur is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I motion for the approval of the resolution proposing the equal and inclusive participation of all community-based youth sectors, geographical or ethnic group representation for all plans and programs focusing on youth development and empowerment in the Bangsamoro government.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the good lady of Committee on Active Citizenship to finally approve the resolution. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the resolution raised by the Committee on Active Citizenship.
There is a motion from the Majority Floor Leader for us to divide the House to vote for the said resolution. Is there any second? Is there any objection? We're then going to proceed with the division of the House. For those who are in favor of the motion, kindly rise. For those, you may sit down. For those who are not in favor of the approval of the resolution, you may rise. Madam, thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 present in this noble House, I present to you 74 who is in favor of the resolution presented by the Committee on Active Citizenship.
Ladies and gentlemen, out of the 76 parliamentarians present, there are 74 who are in favor of the final approval of the resolution coming from the Committee on Active Citizenship. Taking that into consideration, the resolution is finally approved.
Mr. Chair, the lady coming from the Committee on Health wishes to be recognized.
The lady coming from the Committee on Health is recognized.
Honorable Presiding Officer, I humbly honor to be recognized in this plenary. As the chairperson of Committee on Health, I move the motion for the approval of the first proposed bill in which I plea all 76 members of this parliament to affirm this bill, entitled An Act Strengthening Bangsamoro Preparedness and Response to Public Health Emergency.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the good lady from the Committee on Health for us to approve their first priority bill. Is there any Majority Floor Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Health.
There is a motion coming from our Madam Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to vote for this bill. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let us divide the House. For those who are in favor of the final approval of the first priority bill of the Committee on Health, please rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor of the final approval, you may rise. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 66 is in favor of the motion, while 12 is not in favor of the approval of the said bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House, we have 66 who are in favor of the final approval. Taking that into consideration, the first priority bill of the Committee on Health is finally approved. So ordered.
Mr. Chair, the lady from Lanao del Sur wants to be recognized.
The lady is recognized.
I am humbly honored again to be recognized in this plenary. I move the motion for the approval of the second proposed bill in which I plea all 76 members of this Parliament to affirm this bill entitled An Act Establishing Community-Based Mental Health Services in Health Units, Appropriating Funds thereof, and for other purposes.
There is a motion coming from the good lady of Lanao del Sur for the final approval of their second proposed bill. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Health.
There is a motion coming from our Madam Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to vote for the final approval of the second proposed bill of the Committee on Health. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the final approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Health, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor of the final approval of the second proposed bill, it's your time to rise. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 67 voted in favor of the motion, whereas 9 voted not in favor of the approval of the said bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House, out of 76 parliamentarians, we have 67 who are in favor of the approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Health. Taking that into consideration, the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Health is finally approved.
Mr. Speaker, the committee chairperson from the Committee on Education wants to be recognized.
The committee chair is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move the motion for the approval of the bill entitled An Act Mandating the Ministry of Basic, Higher and Technical Education to institutionalize the creation of monitoring and evaluation of learning and facilities, specialists, centers, and appropriating funds thereof.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the committee chair of Committee on Education for the final approval of their first proposed bill. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Education.
Honorable parliamentarians, there is a motion coming from our Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to vote for the first proposed bill coming from the Committee on Education. Is there any second? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the of final approval of the first proposed bill coming from the Committee on Education, you may arise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor of the final approval, it's your time to rise. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 62 voted in favor of the motion, 8 voted not in favor of the motion, and 6 voted abstained.
Ladies and gentlemen, after the division of the House, out of 76 present parliamentarians, 62 were in favor of the final approval and 8 abstained. Taking that into consideration, the first proposed bill coming from the Committee on Education is hereby finally approved.
Mr. Chair, the same gentleman from the Committee on Education wishes to be recognized.
The same gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move the motion for the approval of the bill entitled An Act Providing for the Establishment of the Magna Carta for tertiary level students of Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the committee chair of the Committee on Education for the final approval of their second proposed bill. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Education.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from our Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to vote on the final approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Education. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the final approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Education, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor, it is your time to rise. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 43 voted in favor of the motion, 15 voted not in favor of the motion, while 18 abstained.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House, out of 76 parliamentarians, 43 are in favor of the motion, 15 were not in favor of the motion, and 18 abstained. Taking that into consideration, with 43 majority votes, the second proposed bill from the Committee on Education is finally approved.
Mr. Chair, the lady from the Committee on Governance wishes to be recognized.
She's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I am humbly honored by your recognition in this plenary. Honorable Speaker, as the chairperson of governance, I motion for the final approval of the bill from the Committee of Governance entitled An Act Establishing Bangsamoro Youth Electoral Reform.
There is a motion coming from the good lady from the Committee on Governance for the final approval of their first proposed bill. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Governance.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from our Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to vote on the final approval of the first proposed bill coming from the Committee on Governance. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor for the final approval of the first proposed bill of the Committee on Governance, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor of the final approval, it's your time to rise. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 45 voted in favor of the motion, 13 voted not in favor of the motion, whereas 18 abstained.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House out of 76 present parliamentarians in this session, 45 voted in favor of the final approval, 13 were not in favor, and 18 abstained. Taking that into consideration, the 45 parliamentarians who are in majority, the first proposed bill coming from the Committee of Governance is finally approved.
Mr. Chair, the same lady from the Committee on Governance wishes to be recognized.
The lady is recognized.
Honorable Speaker, as the chairperson of Governance, I motion for the final approval of the bill from the Committee of Governance entitled An Act Mandating the Allocation of Funds of at least 1% from provincial, city, and municipal local government unit to its youth development offices and the selected ministries to youth development programs within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the good lady of Committee of Governance for the final approval of their second proposed bill. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Governance.
There is a motion from the Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to vote for the final approval of the second proposed bill of the Committee on Governance. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the final approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Governance, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor, you may rise. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 37 voted in favor of the motion, 6 voted not in favor of the motion, while 31 abstained.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House out of 76 present honorable parliamentarians, 37 were in favor, 6 were not in favor, and 31 abstained. Taking that into consideration, 37 parliamentarians as the majority, the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Governance is finally approved. So ordered.
Mr. Speaker, the good gentleman coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security wishes to be recognized.
He's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the final approval of the bill from the Committee of Peace Building and Security entitled An Act Establishing Local Youth Centers in All Government Units of the Bangsamoro Region and Providing Funds thereof.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion from the Committee Chair of Committee of Peace Building and Security for the final approval of their first proposed bill. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security.
There is a motion from the majority floor leader to divide the House to approve or not the first proposed bill coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the first proposed bill of the Committee on Peace Building and Security, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor, you may rise. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, out of 76 members of the Parliament, 49 voted in favor of the motion, 8 voted not in favor of the motion, whereas 19 abstained.
Pardon?
Out of 76 members of the Parliament, Mr. Chair, 49 voted in favor of the motion, 8 voted not in favor of the motion, and 19 abstained.
Ladies and gentlemen, after the division of the House, out of 76 parliamentarians, 49 were in favor of the final approval, 8 were not in favor, and 19 abstained. Taking that into consideration, we then decide that the first proposed bill coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security is finally approved. A request for 1 minute recess.
Is not the majority, 39 is the majority of 76.
Ano sabi mo?
39 is the majority.
Wait lang, boss.
I now call this session in order. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the same gentleman from the Committee on Peace Building and Security wishes to be recognized.
There is a motion, apology. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the final approval of the bill from the Committee of Peace Building and Security entitled An Act Providing Agricultural Livelihood Program for the Bangsamoro Youth in Conflict Affected Areas in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the good gentleman from the Committee on Peace Building and Security to finally approve their second proposed bill. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said bill coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion coming from the Majority Floor Leader for the division of the House to vote for the approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the final approval of the second proposed bill of the Committee on Peace Building and Security, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor, please rise. Thank you. Madam Secretary General.
Mr. Speaker, there are 57 in favor and 11 is not in favor and 8 is abstain.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House out of 76 parliamentarians, we have 57 in favor, 11 were not in favor, and 8 abstained for the final approval of the second proposed bill coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security. Having that noted, the second proposed bill coming from the committee is therefore approved.
Mr. Speaker, the good gentleman from the Committee on Peace Building and Security wishes to be recognized.
He is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the final approval of a resolution from the Committee of Peace Building and Security entitled a resolution supporting the National Action Plan and Regional Action Plan, Youth, Peace and Security, or the NAPRAP-YPS in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a motion from the Committee Chair of Peace Building and Security for the final approval of the resolution. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the division of House for the approval of the said resolution from the Committee on Peace Building and Security.
There is a motion from the Majority Floor Leader to divide the House to decide on the final approval of the resolution coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security. Is there any second? Is there any objection? Having heard none, let's divide the House. For those who are in favor of the final approval of the resolution coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security, you may rise. Thank you. For those who are not in favor, please rise. Thank you, Madam Secretary General.
Mr. Speaker, there are 64 in favor for the resolution and not in favor, there are 7 and 7 abstain.
Ladies and gentlemen, after dividing the House, out of 76 parliamentarians, we have 64 in favor of the final approval of the resolution, 7 were not in favor, and 7 abstained. Taking that into consideration, the resolution coming from the Committee on Peace Building and Security is finally approved. So ordered. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I believe that there are no more matters to be discussed in this session. Hence, Mr. Speaker, I move for the adjournment of the session.
Ladies and gentlemen, to the most noble parliamentarians of this Bangsamoro Youth Parliament, having no other business for today's session, I hereby declare this fourth regular session of the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament adjourned.
Ladies and gentlemen, session adjourned. 10 bills, 2 resolutions adopted. Today, let us witness the result of our sleepless nights, where our mind decided to run when normal people sleep, where our eyelids are heavy, but our thoughts are heavier. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremonial turnover of Bangsamoro Youth Parliament bills to Bangsamoro Youth Commission and Bangsamoro Transition Authority. With that, may we request the chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, MP Marjani Mimbantas Makasalong, along our dignitaries, members of the parliament, members of the N-Bank session, and our regional parliamentarian. May we also request the presence of our officers from the Youth Parliament for the handover of the bills. Again, requesting our regional officers of the Youth Parliament for the handover of the bills. We are requesting our parliamentarians to please stand as we witness the handover of the bills. There you have the collective efforts of our young parliamentarians. Congratulations. Again, thank you so much to our young parliamentarians. And now, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we are now inviting the man who captained the furtherance of his fellow youth. Parliamentarians, our Speaker, Mr. Aklima Bataw, for his privileged speech.
Auzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. And a pleasant morning to everyone. My courtesy, of course, to the members of the Parliament of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority who graced us their presence today, and of course, to the in-bank of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, to my fellow, of course, parliamentarians, and to other members and volunteers of the Regional Organizing Committee. Once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Coming into this program from Lanao del Sur, I was really feeling a lot of emotions coming here because I think that it's a very rare opportunity to be able to bring forward a voice from your local to the regional level. To be able to know that coming up here, I will be speaking not just for myself, but for my province, but more so for the Bangsamoro people, is a very great honor that I consider a privilege. Every time po na naiimbitahan ako sa mga pagtitipon kung saan maraming kabataan, I would always go back to the words na always kong sinasabi, no? That Bangsamoro youth will never get tired of hoping and of believing kasi yun na lang po ang options na meron kami. Kung titigil po kami sa pag-hope at sa pag-believe na kayang-kaya po nating baguhin kung ano ang nakasanayan at kung ano ang matagal na nating kinalugmukan. Kung titigil kami sa pag-hope at sa pag-believe, saan na lang po ba kami hahawak? So sa hope at saka sa belief po, yun po siguro yung sinasabi ko na hindi mapapagod ang kabataang Bangsamoro. As a Bangsamoro youth, we shall always dare to break the ceiling and move mountains if need be. Reflecting sa history ng Bangsamoro, hindi lang po basta-basta pangarap ng ating mga forefathers ang nasakripisyo. Mga buhay po at ang buhay ng mga pamilya nila. To the freedom that we enjoy today, we owe it to them. And as the future generation, we also owe it to them to make sure that we do not just continue the fight and the struggle that they have started, but more so to make sure na mas sobrahan pa natin if kakayanin, mas pagpursigihin pa natin, mas i-develop kung kakayanin natin. To be able to pass a bill, no, yung Bangsamoro Youth Parliament po, yung pinaka-essence niya, yung legislation. Ako po ay naniniwala sa proseso ng legislation. It is the missing piece, yung sinabi ko po, na bakit mahirap nating makita yung advokasya natin na ginagawa sa taas, mahirap nating makita sa baba. Kasi po, kung puro programs lamang po ang ating gagawin, wala po tayong kasiguraduhan sa numero ng mga tao na ating mararating. However, if we're going to put our advocacies in the name of legislation, be rest assured that those policies are going to be implemented as long as it is adopted. Not just for few selected individuals, but for the entirety of the population. Kaya po ako ay naniniwala sa essence ng parliament po, ng pagpasa ng mga bills. To be given the opportunity po na magpasa ng bill. Kasi po kami, magkakaiba po kami ng pinanggalingan. Ako po ay from Lanao del Sur. Marami po dito from other provinces like yung island provinces po natin sa Basulta. May from Cotabato City, may from Maguindanao po. Iba-iba po kami ng karanasan. Iba-iba po kami ng battles na pinagdadaanan sa aming mga communities. Ngunit, lahat po yun mahihirap. Wala pong makakapagpasabi na ang isang na-experience ng isa ay mas mahirap sa isa. The bottom line is lahat po tayo naghihirap. At yun po ang dapat nating solusyonan. Ako po ay na-amaze sa nakita kong pagpupursige at sa passion ng aking mga fellow parliamentarians sa buong prosesong aming pinagdaanan. Kagabi po, kung nabalitaan niyo po, kami po ay natapos ng alas 5 ng umaga. Kanina lamang po. Ito po ay dahil hindi namin mapigilan ang umaapaw na kagustuhan namin na isa puso at i-voice out sa parliament ang mga issue na aming na-identify at ang mga solusyon na aming naisip. Overall po, ako po ay labis na natutuwa at labis po na nagagalak kasi ang BYP po ay nagbigay ng napakalaking avenue sa aming mga kabataan na makilahok to take part in government issues, to take part in policy making, and to make sure that sanayin kami as a preparation for our time kapag kami naman yung papalit po. Naniniwala po ako na ang kauna-unahang Bangsamoro Youth Parliament ay magiging hudyat ng pagsibol ng bagong henerasyong Bangsamoro ng mga kabataan na nais makilahok sa usaping panggobyerno at diskurso ukol sa mga polisiya at programa na nais nating isagawa sa Bangsamoro. Once again po, ako po si Aklima Lau Bataw. Ako po ay isang kabataang Bangsamoro and hindi po ako titigil. Kagaya ng aking mga kabataang iba pang Bangsamoro sa pag-hope at paniniwala na mayroon pong napakagandang future na naghihintay sa Bangsamoro region po. Yun lamang po. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu. There you have, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Aklima Bataw. Bangsamoro youth will never get tired of hoping and believing. At this juncture, affirming the collective initiative of our fellows, may we request the chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, MP Marjani Mimbantas Makasalong, for his acceptance message.
Pampatawa lang ng konti. A'udhu billahi minasyaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Wa bihi nasta'in wa alaihi natawakkal. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarikalah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Morning pa po. Good morning po sa atin lahat. Masya Allah. The opportunities that we have every day, hindi po natin kayang pasalamatan ng Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But before that, first and foremost, our courtesy sa mga members of the parliament na hindi ho pinapabayaan ng programa ng Bangsamoro Youth Commission, MP Faiz Alauddin, MP Sahi Hodja, MP Ana Basman. I see here, I hope he can still make it, the Senior Minister MP Abdul Rauf Mangkakuwa, who is also the Minister of the Ministry of the Natural Resources and Energy. It is also here, and I really hope that he can also make it, the majority floor leader, MP Attorney Lanang Ali Jr. Medyo busy ho because even when we were sitting down there or out there, nagzo-zoom ho kami para sa budget hearing na parang napaka-busy din po dahil we know na nasa middle na ho tayo ng December, patapos na ho ang taon at kailangan ho namin matapos ang budget natin for the coming year, which is the 2022. So kahit ho na naka-confirm sila yung iba, they are still there, they're still deliberating the budget, as I've said, for the year 2022. Alhamdulillah, we are here. The commissioners of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission or the INBANC, we are very proud, we are very happy, and we always emphasize that our Bangsamoro Youth Commission has now commissioners representing the 5 provinces of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. And if I can call them one by one, Brother Nas Dunding, alam kong kilala ka na nila, the commissioner from the Maguindanao, Cotabato City, and the 63 barangays. Sister Pratima, palaging sinasabing over na. Representing the province of Tawi-Tawi, over. Commissioner Brother Hamdi Tanjil, representing the province of Basilan, and of course, Commissioner Muhammad Faisal, representing the province of Sulu. And yours truly, aside being the chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, I also represent the province of Lanao del Sur. Baka lang ho magtaka kayo na bakit wala ang Lanao del Sur. So kung ang in the law rather, kung sino ho yung chairperson, kung saan nanggaling na province, concurrent na ho niya yung province niya as a commissioner din ho. So why I always emphasize, despite the fact na kilala na natin sila at lalo na ho si Nas Dunding na talagang parang kasama niyo na ho sa pag-deliberate ng mga batas, ng mga bills, proposed bills. Dahil I really want you to feel na this time, dahil wala ho ito sa unang, with respect, wala ho ito sa opisina ng mga kabataan dati na tinatawag natin na Office on the Bangsamoro Youth Affairs. Wala ho tayong mga commissioners dati. So isa ho ito sa gains natin sa pagtatrabaho natin, sa pagsulong natin, sa karapatan or pagbigay ng more pang privileges and opportunities sa mga kabataan. Ang Bangsamoro Youth Commission na ho ngayon ay may mga commissioners na sa ating mga probinsya para ho i-represent nila tayo. Palakpakan ho natin yan. Mayroon din ho tayong mga ex-officio galing sa mga settler communities, non-Muslim, just in case na sabihin nila na wala ho tayong representation sa Commission in Bank. At mayroon din ho tayo galing sa mga indigenous people. So 7 ho yan lahat. As I've said, ulitin ko lang dahil ito ho ay pinagpaguran natin lahat na magkaroon tayo ng opisina na kahit ho hindi perfect dahil wala hong perfect sa mundong ito, sinisikap ho natin na makakuha tayo ng opisina na inshallah that will really look after the concerns, welfare of our constituents. Nakwento ko na ho even before kung gaano namin pinaghirapan at gaano namin gilabi ang Bangsamoro Youth Commission at ang representation ng mga kabataan sa parliament na mailagay sa reserve seat. Dahil wala ho yan sa una. At nung kinakampanya ho ang Bangsamoro, or during the consultation, hindi pa po kampanya, during the consultation ng Bangsamoro Basic Law pa, during that time hindi pa naging organic law, bawat province ho ng inside the ARMM dati, and even outside, we communicated with the youth leaders and youth-serving organizations and youth-serving organizations kung saan-saan ho kami makapunta at kung sino-sino makausap namin para makabigay sila ng manifestation, support at kung ano pa, minsan ho gumagawa sila ng mga manifesto, kind of rally, quote-unquote, para ho mailagay tayo doon. So So, ngayon na mayroon ho tayong Bangsamoro Youth Commission, mayroon ho tayong reserved seat sa Bangsamoro Parliament, mayroon ho tayong opisina na somehow na one way or another, nare-reach out na ho ngayon yung mga area natin. Nasa atin ho, mga kabataan ngayon, ang responsibility kung paano pa natin ito, inshallah, iso-sustain. Sapat ho namin, why I narrate this, because I want you to feel na yung mga, modesty aside, yung mga representative ho ninyo ay may ginawa para ho sa mga constituents natin, para ho sa mga kabataan. And ulitin ko lang, para ho masustain natin ito, nasa inyo na ho yan. Alam ko na may, I think, 15 years old or 16 years old na nag-attend dito. Can you imagine, double na ho yung edad namin. So, pawala na ho kami sa edad na youth, sa bracket ng youth. And I am so happy, really, coming from the bottom of my heart, even beyond words, na nakikita namin kayo, the way how you tackle the issue, debate, the way you handle even the situation. May mga kulang, may mga lapses sometimes, may mga hindi pagkakaunawaan, may mga differences, disagreements, so on and so forth. The way how you portray yourself, the way how you carry yourself, the way how you respond to the mga biglaang situation, mashallah, we can really tell with inshallah, I always pray for this, with higher probability, with firmness, na inshallah the Bangsamoro government, with you, ay inshallah ho, yung sabi ng speaker natin kanina, na ang brightest future ho ang naghihintay sa atin, inshallah. Wag ho kayo paghinaan ng loob, just continue what you're doing. For the bills that you have submitted to us, and before I read the bills, talaga hong ayun nga, tumatawa with joy while pinapanood namin kayo, kasi yan ho talaga one way or another ang nangyayari sa BTE Parliament, na minsan may mga iniisip ho kami na inshallah madali lang to, inshallah hindi ho ito dadaan sa ganito pang mga queries, hindi pa po dadaan sa mga ganitong mga, kumbaga, ganon kalalim ang mga tanong ng mga kasama natin. Just like you siguro na ini-expect natin na at least 5 to 10 ang matatapos nating bill. Hindi ho natin, I think, in-expect na aabot kayo ng 5 PM kaninang gabi. But yeah, umabot kayo ng 5 AM dahil hindi natapos ang mga issues. Can you imagine also that in the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, when we were working on it, I think at least 1 or twice na divide ang house sa pagbuto ng mga ng some of the provision or section of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission. Isa na ho doon yung edad ng mga youth sa Bangsamoro Youth Commission na from 15 to 40. 40 ho. Sinubukan naming maging 30 para ho doon sa mga iba, para ho tugma sa national or international na mga standard or ibang mga countries. Nag-negotiate na maging 35 pero talagang 40 ho yung nanalo. That's the power of democracy. After all, when they divided the house, ang nanalo ang edad na 40, kahit kami na mismo sponsor ng bill ay bumoto ng 30 or nag-negotiate ng 35, nanalo ho talaga ang 40, kaya 15 to 40 ho yung edad ng mga kabataan. So, just want to read an act requiring a mandatory voters education program and the funds thereof and other purposes. An act creating a youth with disabilities task force in local government units appropriating funds thereof and for other purposes. An act establishing community-based mental services in health units appropriating funds thereof and for other purposes. An act of strengthening Bangsamoro Public Health Emergency Preparedness. An act mandating the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education to provide for the establishment of Magna Carta for tertiary level students of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. An act mandating the Ministry of Basic, Higher and Technical Education to institutionalize the creation of monitoring and evaluation of learning and facility specialist centers and appropriating funds thereof. An act establishing Bangsamoro Youth Electoral Reform. An act mandating the allocation of funds of at least 1% of the provincial, state, and municipal local government units to its youth development offices and selected ministries within the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. An act establishing local youth centers, mashallah, sana ho ma-approve ito, in all local government units of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao and providing funds thereof. An act providing agricultural livelihood program for the Bangsamoro youth in conflict-affected areas in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Mashallah, ang gaganda ho ng mga bills natin, sana ho ma-approve natin. And for that youth center, nakailan na ho natin yan ma-propose, inshallah, tinitingnan namin, yung may mga actually nilalabi ko din personally as a member of the parliament, sa mga iba pa pong members ng parliament na nandoon sa menu ng Ministry of Human Settlement and Development, yung Human Resource Development Center and Youth Development Center, which is worth of 7 million and 14 million. Kung sakali hong makita nila yung talagang urgency of it sa mga area natin or at least sa province natin, mas madali ho natin yan. But for the information of everyone, during our meeting with the Chief Minister, we were in Asulu during that time. We had a meeting, the Inbank had a meeting with the Chief Minister. Gipropose ho namin yan and in principle, he approved the establishment of the Bangsamoro Youth Centers. Palakpakan ho natin yan. Inshallah, papush lang tayo, papollow up lang ho tayo. And we will be talking, inshallah, with the Ministry of the MPW, Public Works, inshallah, for that. At pag ma-implement na ho yan, medyo sasabihin ko ho na wala na ho tayong reason, inshallah, para hindi ho tayo mas makapagtrabaho pa. So again, this is my concluding remarks. Medyo umaba because I'm so excited of telling you this, that we are very, very proud na nakandak ho natin itong Bangsamoro Youth Parliament at sana ho masuportahan pa lalo in the coming years. The Bangsamoro Youth Commission in specific and the Bangsamoro government in general, we are giving our assurance na talaga hong mga ganitong programa ay sinusuporta namin. At idadagdag ko lang doon sa sinabi ni Speaker kanina ang tukot na kaya nga hindi natin medyo nakikita yung mga advocacy natin sa baba dahil kulang ho ng legislation. At idadagdag ko doon is kahit din ho gaano kaganda yung legislation natin, kung hindi rin ho ma-implement, kung hindi rin ho tayo magtrabaho. In fact, ang dami-dami hong mga legislation na naisabatas na, pero hindi pa po natin nararamdaman sa baba. Because ang dalawang yan, legislation and the implementation, ay hindi ho dapat paghiwalayin. Kahit gaano pa, ulitin ko lang gaano kaganda ang batas natin, kung kulang naman sa implementation ay parang sayang din ho. Ganon din, kahit gaano pa tayo ka-workaholic, kung wala din hong basihan sa batas, lalo na ho kung walang pondo, mahirapan din tayong pag-implement. So, as really to my parting words is really, I say this I think 3 or 4 times already, but ulitin ko lang to give more emphasis on this. Nasa inyo ho ngayon yung responsibility dahil tinitingnan tayo ngayon ng mga constituents natin. Isipin nyo, itong 76 na mga kabataan na galing sa iba't ibang areas, galing sa iba't ibang provinces, iilan lang ho ito sa mga youth natin, sa mga constituents natin. So kung yung natutunan mo dito ay kinip mo lang sa sarili mo at hindi mo iririiko sa mga other youth leaders or youth mga kabataan natin, I think hindi naman ho sayang pero hindi ho natin talaga mama-maximize yung lakas natin, yung potentials natin at sa mga yung iniisip natin na resulta ng ating pinaghirapan. And I would like to quote na ang nasabi na ho sa amin, siguro yung iba nakarinig na rin ho dito, na we were told before when we were campaigning the Bangsamoro Organic Law, when time came na medyo na-frustrate na ho kami kasi medyo hindi ho nag-move ang Bangsamoro Basic Law during that time, we were told, nasabi nga nila, kung ganon lang kadali makuha ang kapayapaan, ang lasting peace, di sana noon pa natin nakuha. The matter of the fact is that we need to work hand in hand, we need to work together, and we need to work around the clock para makuha natin yung resulta na gusto natin. And in achieving lasting peace, hindi ho natin to kaya na tayo-tayo lang. Sabi nga nila, if you want to achieve lasting peace, you need to build more peace builders. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Once again, BYC Chair Dr. Makasalong. At this juncture, let us lend our ears to our dignitaries as they convey their continuing support to the youth of the Bangsamoro. To begin with, may we request MP Faids Alauddin.
Wasadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasulullah Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Chairperson of Bangsamoro Youth Commission, Honorable MP Marjani S. Makasalong, to my fellow members of Parliament who is with us today, Bangsamoro Youth Parliament, guests, visitors, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I'm very pleased to be here today on the occasion of the closing program of Bangsamoro Youth Parliament 2021. I would like to congratulate all the organizers for this successful event and for the making youth an integral part of the Bangsamoro youth government. I also like to congratulate our Bangsamoro Youth Parliament present today, and especially MP Marjani S. Makasalong. We must be proud of what has brought you here. Your passion and declaration to creating a better world, your leadership, motivation others to do the same. But this your commitment it to listen and collaborate that make any of this positive action possible. I have no doubt that you have learned a lot during this past few days. What the world also learned for you by listening to your voice around sensitive on key issue that uniquely affected your generation. We believe that the primary agenda of change is not just in our future but in our present, you young people. Our projects and programs are built around the principle to achieve our goal. Let us keep this commitment and pick up the momentum. I urge that the member of the parliament to work together and to work with you. Let us not just talk about youth, but let us work with youth in true solidarity. Before I end my speech, let me share with you this word. Shababul Yawm Rijalu God. The youth of today is the hope of tomorrow. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumussalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. There you have, ladies and gentlemen, MP Faiz Alauddin. And now to continue, may we request the presence of MP Sahi S. Ujja.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah asrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Wa ba'd. Ikhwatul Bangsamoro atau ikhwanul Bangsamoro. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Your previous or this morning session has brought me into my age of 1970s. Because I was once among the youth leaders of those years who aimed to become a matured individual and helping to lead the constituents of the Philippines in general. So that was a very happy moment for me today and to be with you, young people of the Bangsamoro. My role this morning is just to give a sort of encouragement or a motivation to you youth of today who shall become, surely, the leaders of your Bangsamoro in the few years to come. By the time you will be out of the age bracket of youth, up to 40 years of age, then you will become the true leaders, the matured leaders of your Bangsamoro people. With this, allow me to bring you back to the classroom, as I used to say, as a former university instructor, that our 1987 Philippine Constitution has provided political space for the youth, specifically on nation building. As well, the Bangsamoro Organic Law has provided, among others, a political mandate for the youth to take, to perform, and to be successful during their youth age. And as well, the Holy Quran, a lot of verses that pertain to the role of the youth in helping, in obeying, and in leading his constituents in the respective areas of responsibility. With all those established guidelines and guideposts to your role as youth of today, feel that you are not only hoping, you are not only believing, but you are actually actuating what the youth should do. Now, as public servant that you are, or that we are, we have to continuously render services to our constituents by having the guide principle in life. And I would like to introduce, I know some of you have encountered this, the principle of paying forward. The principle of paying forward emphasizes that your services as youth, that your participation as youth, should not expect reward from anybody. Should not expect reward from the government, but you have to expect reward from the Almighty. Do good, do the best, never expect the return of the good or the best reward, but surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His ayah, He declares, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Those who trust through their services to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is but obliged on Allah ta'ala. He obliged His sipa, all His sipa, to return even more than the expectation of those who do good. So I invite you as well, as young leaders of today, to be on board with us in the parliament and in the government of the day to work and perform on board with the moral governance of the Bangsamoro people. Governance, putting government policies and programs in practice and implementation with sincerity, with integrity, with morality, and with the multiplying effect to the people down the line. I as well invite you or encourage you to take your respective role on the shared responsibility of the leadership of the Bangsamoro in our quest, in our struggle towards the completion of our struggle for right to self-determination of the Bangsamoro people. Along this line, think of not only of 2025, from 2022 to 2025, who knows, one or two from among you will become members of the parliament. Think beyond 2025. What you have started to perform your role today must have a lasting impact to the years ahead, so that we'll be having policy legacy, program legacy, and project legacies to our people by the time that we'll be out of the parliament, or you will be out of your being youth, but you will be the responsible leaders of tomorrow of your Bangsamoro people. So, not only that, taking the rule, your active participation is a must, and more than that, your role of being a catalyst, of being a critic to us in the parliament, to the government of the day, will bear fruits to the constituents by the time that it will reach the ground. So, my young Bangsamoro people, still I invite you as a former faculty member, more than a member of the parliament, to learn more today about parliamentary system as you have been learning, to learn more today and experience more today, because you cannot avoid that you will become leaders of tomorrow. Prayerfully, we in our lifetime will be witness of among you, or if not of all of you, to be the passengers of the Bangsamoro ship towards right to self-determination of our Bangsa, so that we will be having a collective success, we'll be meeting the expectation of our Bangsamoro people that this present government, as laid by responsible minds from the Bangsamoro leaders, from the MILF, from the MNLF, and from the rightful political leaders of the Bangsamoro people, shall continue, and it will be in your hands for us to expect by the time that we'll be retiring, that you will be our right and the rightful and responsible leaders of the Bangsamoros tomorrow. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikumussalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Let us bear in mind our respective responsibilities as youth in pursuit to the betterment of the Bangsamoro. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, MP Sahi S. Ujja. And now to conclude our messages, may we request the presence of MP Ana Tarhata Basman.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah mabad. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Fellow members of the parliament, MP Sahi Ujja, MP Faiz Alauddin, and the Commission on Bank, Commissioner Muhammad Faisal Ali from Sulu, our host when we were in Tawi-Tawi, and my new friend, Commissioner Prat Sabal of Tawi-Tawi, Commissioner Handi Tanjil of Basilan, the omnipresent Commissioner of Maguindanao and the Special Geographic Areas, Com Nas Dunding, and our two-hatted person today, our fellow member of parliament and the chairperson, as well as the representative for Lanao del Sur of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, MP Marjani Makasalong. Our youth parliamentarians, congratulations. Medyo mahirap sundan yung dalawa nating senior, not in age, but in experience and expertise sa pagbigay ng encouraging message, pero we will try our best. It actually warms my heart to see how far the BYC has come in working its way towards youth empowerment. Kwento lang ako ng konti. Actually ako, si MP Marjani, and our colleague from the island provinces, si MP Amir Mawalil, were the ones grilled for the passage of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission Act. Thank you kasi nakaraos din kami, katulad ninyo. At nung panahon na yon, we felt that it was one of the most deliberated on bills in Parliament. And that's not an over-exaggeration. There were many offices that were being created during that time in the BTA, but it was, as MP Marjani has said, the only bill where we had to divide the House very often on issues which were not just important for us, the younger members of the Parliament, but also our elders, whom we reserve our respect and all admirations. So Alhamdulillah, we are here and seeing the fruit of all of those hard work, all of those lobbying, at alam nyo na yan ngayon. Finally, your 4 days in Cotabato City has come to an end. Bitin, no? Gusto niyo pa mag-extend, no? At least, alhamdulillah, ganyan yung feeling nyo. Sa totoo lang, that proceeding that we had this early morning, I wish I can say that Parliament proceedings were as orderly or as facilitative as you've encountered, as you've demonstrated this morning. Pero alam ninyo, if you've been watching the live streaming of the sessions of the Parliament, na that's far from reality. Pero sa totoo lang, yung 10 bills and 2 resolutions in a matter of 3 days, up to the 5 a.m. in the morning, as we say, it's no small feat. So give ourselves a hand, kasi hindi siya simple. Alam kong from filing to deliberations at the committee level, and you've even in fact elected your officers of the Parliament. Hindi yon nagagawa in the days that you've spent in the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. So congratulations because you're able to accomplish all of those. Now you have immersed yourself in legislative work. At alam niyo na siguro, no? Lawmaking entails not just coming up with bright ideas, drawing or drafting very good bills or resolutions. It takes a lot of haggling. It takes a lot of compromising on certain things and standing firm on others. It takes a lot of advocating, convincing, pagsabi na, sige na, pumayag ka na dito, papayag ako dun sa isa. Lahat yan, pinagdaanan ninyo. So, I appreciate very much kasi bago ang parliament sa atin sa Bangsamoro, ngayon lang nagkaroon ng parlamento sa kasaysayan ng ating rehiyon. Ito yung isang magandang simula para ma-familiarize tayong mga kabataan kung paano ba ito nangyayari. At ngayong naramdaman nyo na yan, I really hope you take that home with you, bring that to your respective communities, and use that to further your advocacies. Kasi tulad ng mga sinabi ng ating mga leaders, nasa kamay na natin, nasa kamay nating mga kabataan kung maisusulong yung mga gusto nating maabot. The bills and resolutions that you've filed, that you've come up with, it's perhaps going to be very difficult for the Parliament to even conceptualize those, if not for heavy lobbying. At yan ang realidad ng policy making. Hindi maiisip ng lahat ng ating mga leaders ang lahat ng bagay na makabubuti para sa ating mga kabataan. So nasa sa atin ang responsibilidad para i-remind sila. At alhamdulillah dito sa Bangsamoro, maraming puwang para sa ganong klaseng pagkakataon na mapakinggan at masabi natin kung ano yung ating mga saloobin. Ngayong nandito na tayo sa dulo, we should congratulate ourselves for a job well done, pat ourselves on the back, but I hope it also motivates us to do more with what we've gained from these 3 days. At nakakasigurado kami, ang inyong mga members of Parliament, na kaya nyo yan. You've exhibited that in the past days. Marami tayong na-accomplish. Marami sa inyo puyat na puyat at lahat kayo actually puyat. So let's congratulate ourselves. But let's use this as motivation to do more and act further. Kasi hindi dito natatapos. It is now in our hands to echo this to our communities. Malaman ng ating mga kapwa-kabataan na hindi ganun kasimple ang mag-lobby pero hindi rin siya imposible. So kaya natin siyang gawin. Hindi ko na po papahabain. I know you've learned all that you needed to learn in the past 3 days and that this is only the start of your involvement in the Bangsamoro governance. It will not be complete if it's only your appointed or elected officials who are acting for the welfare of the youth. A very significant portion of our success is determined by our rigorous, vigorous, and overall involvement. So congratulations again to all of our 76 parliamentarians. You've done a very admirable job being the pioneering Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Also, congratulations to the BYC. Ang galing-galing. Alhamdulillah, naisip ninyo yung mga ganitong klaseng programa. And thank you very much to all of you for your hard work And we look forward to more of those in the coming days and years in our mutual quest, mutual desire for lasting, sustainable peace and development in our region. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Let us use this as a motivation to do more and act further. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, MP Tarhata Basman. And now, fellows, ears to our chosen parliamentarians as they share their distinguished notions and personal experiences concerning this activity. Starting off, from Cotabato City, we have Mr. Glenn Mayor Bagani.
Hello everyone. Good morning everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. I am Glenn Mayor D. Bagani, representing the host city of the first ever Bangsamoro Youth Parliament, Cotabato City. I came into this program not really knowing what I was fighting for, and that's the truth. Despite all of the documents and the papers that I have read, I still did not understand what was the reason why I would like to put myself together with 80 different people that I do not know. As someone who has a very strong personality, sometimes there are a lot of challenges when it comes to fitting into the mold, into interacting with people that may have different opinions, point of views, and beliefs as you. But I conquered myself because I know that I will never know unless I try. And so I did. To run through the experiences, not only for my city, Cotabato, I believe that we have seen great things. We have also seen the worst. But I'd like to start first with one. Upon entering and joining the BYP, I realized that you don't necessarily have to be the most intelligent and the smartest in the room. Hindi importante na ikaw ang pinakamalakas ang appeal, pinakamalakas ang confidence, at pinakamatalino sa lahat. And that was proven. I proved that myself. Nakita natin yung proseso na hindi inuuna yung utak. Because you have to be thinking more of the greater good of the community more than for yourself. And that's the first realization. So, that goes to my next conclusion na as part of my realization, after that would be the being able to adopt to whatever the majority decides. Sometimes it's hard to accept defeat. It's hard to accept rejections. But I've come to this parliament realizing that it is part of the process. Oo, pumasok tayo dito, bringing our own advocacies, fighting for our own beliefs. But these are all valid. However, there is a sense of urgency. And that's a realization too. All of our points are valid, all of our sentiments are valid, but who wins is sino yung mas kailangan. Ano yung bagay na kapag hindi natin ginawa, magkakaroon ng malaking impact sa community at sa youth. At pangatlo, the ability to communicate with each other. After all, nagkaalaman, nagkasakitan, nagkabatuhan ng masasakit at medyo hindi ka nais-nais na linya because of different clashing opinions and point of views, but we have come to a point that it is that we need to use proper communication and proper decorum in whatever that we do. And for me, all of those realizations I will bring into life and apply not only in the form of legislation, but also in my own personality. And I hope that you do it on your own as well. That when you speak and when you communicate with others, for whatever concern that is, you do not always just side for yourself. Allow opinions and allow allowances for changes, for amenabilities, and also for understanding from the rest. Because from there on, doon lang tayo magkakaroon ng epektibo at productive na form of communication. Ngayon that I am able to deliver the speech, I want to encourage the rest of the 76 parliamentarians that I share with na may this day only begins. More of bills, more projects, more advocacies. And so we replicate this not only to our own communities, but to the entirety of the Bangsamoro region. Mabuhay ka, Bangsamoro! Mabuhay ang kabataang mambabatas. Maraming salamat po.
There you have Mr. Glenn Mayor Bagani. And now, following, Ms. Dujana G. Adil, representing Special Geographical Areas.
A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Pagbati na may alab sa puso. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Ako ay lubos na nagagalak na maging bahagi ng kasaysayan ng kauna-unahang Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Sino ang magkakala na isang kabataang babae mula sa Manaulanan, Pikit ng Special Geographic Area ng BARM ay magiging isa at mapalad na maging bahagi ng 80 kabataang kakatawan sa Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Kaninang madaling araw, ang mainit na debate patungkol sa pag-uusap sa pagtalima ng bill ng mga kasamahan natin sa Committee on Peace Building patungkol sa mga kabataang biktima ng kaguluhan at mga kabatahang mujahidin ay naging emosyonal. Ang mga luhang di mapigilang ito ay hindi dahil sa kalungkutan o pagkabigo. Bagkos ito ay para sa kagalakan at realisasyon na adaya, alhamdulillah, may kakayahan na kaming gumawa ng hakbang at maging boses ng kapwa naming kabataan. Bago ako tumulak dito, pinabaunan ako ng aking bapabel. Ate, biyambiyani ka, iniyat ng ka. Maslain niya, jihad ng ka, kanumataga padanan ka. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget the hadith of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, innama a'malu binniyat. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hearts, our intention in pureness. Di tano lipatanan, ando sayangan sa mga pinaninindag ng mga lukas tano. Itong Bangsamoro Youth Parliament at hudyat ng pagbabago, pagkakaisa at muling pagbuhay sa mga puso ng bawat kabataang Bangsamoro. In behalf of the youth parliamentarians of SGA and in behalf of Kasiga, Kabataang SGA, we are very honored and grateful, Masla Asukur, for giving us the chance to participate in part and to be part of this historic event in the Bangsamoro Youth. We are very thankful sa lahat, hindi lang ngayon, bagkos ang Kabataang SGA ay hindi nakakalimutan ng Bangsamoro Youth Commission. Parati kaming nabibigyan ng pagkakataong makilahok at maging bahagi ng usaping pangkabataan. Saki si Dujana Gayak Adil, wata na mujahidin, wata na Bangsamoro. Mabuhay ang mga kabataang mambabatas.
Mabuhay! Maraming salamat, Miss Dujana G. Adil. And now, may we request Mr. Abdurrahman C. Idris from Tawi-Tawi.
أعوذ بالله العظيم وبوجهه الكريم وبسلطانه الكريم من الشيطان الرجيم الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Ang aking pagbati ng kapayapaan sa ating lahat. Ako po ay isang kabataan na nagmula sa Tawi-Tawi. Sa loob ng 33 oras, dinaanan po namin ng malalaking alon papunta dito. At ang mga daan na napakahirap magpahinga at dahil sa aming pagpupursigi ay nandito kami. Kahit sa aming dahil sa aming pagnanasa na makasama kayong lahat, kami ay narito ngayon dahil na rin sa inyong pag-iimbita. Tatlo po kaming participant from the province of Tawi-Tawi. It is the southernmost part of the Philippines, and it is a struggle to be here. But when we have seen our fellow parliamentarians, we felt comfortable. Alhamdulillah. Lahat po ito ay posible dahil sa Bangsamoro Youth Commission. We would like to thank our chairperson, Sir Dr. Marjani Makasalong, for his invitation, even though we were also together in Tawi-Tawi for the last weeks because of our YPS consultation. We would like to thank you that we as well was given opportunity to be here with you all at this program. Nagsimula po ako. As for me as a youth leader, this was a step forward and a step backwards. I started supporting the Bangsamoro Basic Law as a representative of Tawi-Tawi when I was a civic youth leader. In memory of the late Gajali Jaafar, who convinced us that this Bangsamoro government is indeed inclusive for all of us, including the Bangsasama of Tawi-Tawi. We have joined the struggle in the bicameral committee where we attended. And when I came here, I remembered the time when I stole the opportunity to speak in the Senate hearing during the Bangsamoro Basic Law hearing in Cotabato City, right here at this venue. Throughout the struggles, we have supported the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Sumama po kami dahil naniniwala po kami na itong Bangsamoro government ay para sa ating lahat. At ang kanilang pangako ay nadama namin sa probinsya ng Tawi-Tawi. Ang suporta ng Tawi-Tawi ay 96% in equivalent dahil naniniwala po kami na pasok ang aming sentimiento at pasok ang Tawi-Tawi sa ating struggle at naniniwala po tayo sa right to self-determination ay nirerespeto at nandito po tayo ngayon dahil tayo ay parte ng Bangsamoro government. Yun lang po ang aking masasabi dahil tayo ay magkakalayo na, pero hindi po dito nagtatapos ang ating journey. Nung nakamit po natin ang tagumpay sa Bangsamoro government, ako po mismo ay pumasok sa politika. Dahil naniniwala po ako, ang ating struggle ay hindi nagtatapos sa ating campaign. Sabi nga nila, mas malaking pagsubok ang pagpasok natin sa bilang gobyerno. So dito po, nagpapasalamat kami sa lahat ng mga delegates in representation of different provinces that we are here today and we have a fruitful conversation, especially na ang ating mga legislation behind it, may mga storya at may mga kwento na nais nating ipaabot. At ang importante po ay naniniwala po tayo para sa ikabubuting ng lahat. mabuhay Bangsamoro Government, at mabuhay kabataang mambabatas. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Abdurrahman Idris of Tawi-Tawi. And now may we request Miss Jennifer D. Maranga of Indanan, Sulu.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Nais po naming magpasalamat sa organizers ng BYP, the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Bilang isang kabataan na nanggaling sa malayong probinsya ng Barm, kagaya ng sinabi ni Sir na sa Tawi-Tawi na struggle yung pagpunta dito, but yung inisip namin para sa kabataan, gagawin namin ang lahat para matupad or para maipaabot sa Barm government ang gusto ng kabataan ng Sulu. Before kami pumunta dito, hindi namin alam kung ano yung mangyayari sa BYP kasi this is the first time na nagkaroon ng Bangsamoro Youth Parliament sa Barm region. May mga problema tayong dinala. Kanya-kanyang problema from the community, dinala natin dito para gusto natin na ma-address. During the sessions in drafting the bills, in adopting the bills, maraming sentiments, may umiyak, grabe yung struggle natin. We have marami tayong sleepless nights, but let us congratulate ourselves na nakaya natin yung mga struggles na yun. And in behalf of the youth from the Sulu, from the province of Sulu, maraming salamat po and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumussalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And now Mr. Amil Hassan Kaliit of Basilan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I am Amil Hassan Kalit, native of Basilan, honored to be part of this timely needed and productive event. I prepared not to give you a boring speech, so let it be guided with 3 keys. First, I would like to say thank you. Thank you to the hardworking committees who contributed their time and hardship just to make this event possible. Second, thank you to my fellow parliamentarians for being with us from the first day to this moment of time. We inspired and lucky to be part of these brilliant minds. This is truly an event that worthy of sharing to my peers of same field, to the person in front and behind working collaboratively for the success of this 4-day program. We commend you all. Lastly, we are seeing now more equipped to dig deeper to issues in our community and to challenge ourselves by transforming them into project conducts. We thank our Bangsamoro Youth Commission, Commissioner Hamdi Tanjil, for his effort and responsibilities that brings us to this event. Magsukur, sir. Moreover, to my co-parliamentarians, congratulations to all of us. It was days of challenge, and we managed to complete them. Again, I am Amil Hassan Kalit, proud Basileño and proud Bangsamoro Youth Parliament first batch. Pasong Bangsamoro, pasong Kasanyanganin. Wabadu, wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumussalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, Mr. Amil Hassan Khalid. And now from the province of Maguindanao, Ma'am Bayhana Pangalaw.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. A pleasant and peaceful morning to each and everyone who are currently present at this momentous event. I'd like to give my thanks first to Allah, Alhamdulillah, and then to all the minds and bodies who have organized this momentous and historical event, the very first Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. I believe that all 76 young parliamentarians have carried brilliant bills, and behind all those bills are the narratives that they have seen with the need of an immediate response. Hence, I realized that having a narrative is not enough. If you want to act and create a possible sustainable solution, indeed we need to legislate. So I believe that an ink and putting it in a paper is now more powerful weapon in fighting for things we believe in and what we know is right. Violence should never ever be an option today because everyone deserves the preservation and best quality of life. I will always believe and have high hopes that the youth has so much to offer. And this has been proven with the past 4 days that we have been the Bangsamoro Youth Parliamentarians. So this is a great opportunity for us to observe and feel like it is as if we felt the pressure of those who are in the Bangsamoro Parliament. Hence, as a beginner in the parliamentary procedure, it gave me a wider appreciation and understanding with the struggles of the honorable members of the parliamentarians during the plenary session of their noble house. I think that it is important for the youth to understand the parliamentary procedure, for it affects our political maturity and even paves way in weaving peace that causes ease in the mind of the people in the society. If only everyone understand the role of each individual in the society, may it be the people from the government, the ministry, the civic society, and even the people per se. We can create a harmonious society, at least. However, I do not discourage everyone to continuing knocking the doors of the members of the parliamentarians, of the parliamentary, in answering the clamor of our own community. During the message of one of our speakers during the first day, Board Member Adyong have stated that we must fall in love with the problem and not in the solution. And it was proven with the past 2 days that we have been doing the proceeding. Because it taught us what? Humility. And as well as open-mindedness in order that we can make sure that our bill will be well polished and can be approved. And it was not easy, but hence everyone enjoyed it. I believe in that. And all those sleepless nights, mind-draining, and even floating moments, I can say that it was worthy of our sleepless nights and even our, I may say, collaborative effort. I wish that all other youth present in our communities can also experience this. And as a delegate parliamentarian of this very first Bangsamoro Youth Parliamentary, or Parliament rather, from the province of Maguindanao and as a future alumni of this event. So I will dedicate at my best in advocating and even encouraging more future parliamentarians from the province of Maguindanao to become the next delegates for the next years to come and bring their narratives into this honorable house, the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Marami pong salamat. I know that our forefathers' blood and sweat did not go in vain. During the parliamentary proceedings, I have witnessed the spark of hope. And at some point, if these young parliamentarians can draft and pass a bill that addresses not only for the youth, but for all other sectors, I can now attest to this phrase from our Bangsamoro hymn. As I quote, Bangsamoro'y tagumpay, bunga ng pawis, dugo at buhay. End quote. At ngayon, kapayapaan at katarungan ay masasabi ko ng unti-unti na nating nakakamtan. Alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khairan for staying true to this promise. Ang ginhawa para sa kabataan, alhamdulillah, and hoping this is just a start in the youth engagement of more youth in the government. Inshallah, again, let me reiterate the sponsorship speech during the first reading of the Committee of Governance Bill that despite all the trauma, the circumstances, and challenges that we are facing, the youth will always represent the appearance, the freshness, the vigor, the spirit, and the characteristic of being young. And let us remind you, and even myself, to continue advocating in what we believe in, because we are today the catalyst of progressive Bangsamoro, and we are tomorrow the foundation of a sustainable, peaceful Bangsamoro. Lagit-lagi para sa kabataang Bangsamoro, para sa bayan ng Bangsamoro, mula sa kabataang mambabatas ng probinsya ng Maguindanao, fi amanillah, assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumussalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. There you have Bayhana Pangalaw of Maguindanao. And now to conclude our testimonies, may I request Mr. Jamal Pandapatan of Lanao del Sur.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My due courtesy to our distinguished guests, members of the Parliament, MP Faid, MP Sahi, MP Ana, commissioners of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, and our honorable parliamentarians. I am truly honored to be part of this momentous activity, and I am especially honored to have this chance to share some of my best experiences in the program. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were to provide 2 lessons that I have learned during our parliamentary proceedings and during the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament, it's number 1, the power of unity that the Bangsamoro youth holds, and number 2, how peaceful communication always ends up every conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, we entered at the door of this convention, bringing prides to our respective provinces, to our respective cities, and even to our respective tribes. We entered at this hall thinking that I am a Maranao, I am a Basileño, I am a Maguindanaon, and all of this other stuff. Little do we know that it's not the thing that we need to practice here in the corner of these halls. We always think how it meant to be divided. People have been thinking, especially those that are less in number, that Lanao del Sur had dominated this Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. But later on we realized that it's not about numbers that matters. It's about how many people tries to convince themselves that I am not a Maranao here, I am a Bangsamoro. I am not a Maguindanao here, I am a Bangsamoro. Because all of us are given the chance to become who we are in these 4-cornered halls. Divided, we are just a drop in an endless sea. but together we become the ocean of opportunities. Indeed, we change the path of this world by changing ourselves first. Ladies and gentlemen, during our caucus, we always thought, how should we end this kind of debates and all of this other stuff? During our parliamentary proceedings, we always thought of how should we end all of these stuffs that we are trying to end and how should we move forward to other things. Tears have dropped, angers have risen, and everything boils up. But then again, we need to realize that everything can end in peaceful dialogue. And that all of those motions to divide the House and that all of those motions to try to amend things out can always be accepted through peaceful dialogue. As parliamentarians, let us prove to the whole world that Bangsamoro youth are always ready to take new challenges, that we are always ready to climb new heights, and that we are always ready to dive deeper oceans. Because our unity is more powerful than the assumptions of other people to our bangsa. Mabuhay ang Bangsamoro Youth Commission, mabuhay ang Bangsamoro Transition Authority, mabuhay ang Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, at mabuhay ang kabataang mambabatas ng Bangsamoro. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. That concludes it. Thank you so much, young parliamentarians, for imparting us your insights on this 4-day activity. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm handing over the floor to our regional parliamentarian, Ma'am Janine Gamao Balt, for the BYP Special Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, our resident parliamentarian, Ma'am Janine Gamao Balt.
Pangarap nating makamit ang pagbabago sa mundo. Kailan nga ba? Kailan tayo magsisimula? Wow, sa kapayapaan ang natatamo. Simulan ng magkaisa, huwag susuko.
To our distinguished members of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority Parliament, MP Marjani Makasalong Mimbantas, mga maas nato Daing Halupasog and Basilan, MP Sahi Uja and MP Faiz Alaudin, and of course to one of the members of the Parliament who I look up to, MP Attorney Ana Tarhata Basman. I'm sorry kaya medyo hindi ko narinig kanina dahil nag-text po siya na umalis na po siya, meron pa po siyang pupuntahan. This program, the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament, isn't just about public speaking. Your skills in formal writing, negotiation, lobbying, and finding compromise and respect for others' opinion are being honed. More than just understanding and applying the parliamentary procedure, you have also experienced how to run for a political position. You have also learned that the importance of having allies, that you cannot exist, that you cannot survive, and you cannot be successful alone. Also, we have observed that we may have the noblest intention to fight for the rights of the marginalized, the underprivileged, and the vulnerable, among others. I do hope that it also came to you that the real work of our members of the Parliament in the Bangsamoro Transition Authority is not just about debating. It is knowing the issue, which in the case of our dear members of the Parliament in the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, they conduct research, they conduct consultations, and do constituency services, among others, to have enough grasp on the issue. Being your resident parliamentarian for this batch, I witness how eager and committed you are to the program and to your bills. I am a witness. Sa ilang araw or ilang gabi na wala kayong tulog, actually meron pong documentation, may mga natulog sa upuan, may natulog sa hallway. Yes po, may natulog ng nakabarong, may natulog ng naka-Filipiniana. Yes po. Meron po kaming mga picture pero hindi po namin ipopost. Baka po isumpa nyo kami. At don't worry po,
wala po kaming picture na tumulo yung laway ninyo while natutulog dahil natulog po kayong nakamask. Ayan po. But, nakita natin, there were heated debates, there were crying, and there were silent battles na nilabanan ninyo. But I'm also happy na walang nangyaring walkout, na no brawling happened. As resident parliamentarian, yun yung kinatakutan ko, na baka merong mag-walk out, na baka merong magtapunan ng papel or merong magsisigawan. Alam nyo ba na apart from having our sergeant at arms, I even requested marshals. We even requested additional marshals from MILF BF. Yes po. Nag-request po kami ng mga miyembro ng Bangsamoro Islamic Armed Forces. Mashallah. You showed us how matured you handle things. Hindi na namin sila kinailangan. Being your resident parliamentarian and the rest of the organizing team, we were just there at the corner observing and waited kung kailan ninyo kami kailangan. Because we don't want to steal to you your opportunity to learn. We don't want to impose on you what to do because we have full trust in you. Sana na-appreciate nyo yung essence of suspending the session and having a recess. Na sometimes, you have to stop and tackle issues in the corner of the microphone para maka-arrive tayo ng solution. Like what I have emphasized, as per experience in the previous parliamentary simulation programs I have attended, like the ARMM Regional Youth Congress, the Mindanao Young Leaders Parliament, and the Philippine Model Congress, lahat po yun hindi perfect. But this first Bangsamoro Youth Parliament is the best. While watching you, I was like nakakatouch. Sabi ko, mashallah, ito ang future ng Bangsamoro Parliament? Sana ito ang future ng Bangsamoro Parliament. And finally, being you an alumni of this program, may you be more committed to always uphold the values of a good parliamentarian. One who safeguard democracy, value human rights, ensure public integrity, values diversity, and above all, a parliamentarian who recognize political pluralism. Mabuhay ang kabataang mambabatas ng Bangsamoro. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, ma'am. And of course, again, okay. So, while having our, habang may mga inaayos pa tayo dito, ladies and gentlemen, let us witness the encapsulated sleepless nights and excruciating days of our young parliamentarians through an audiovisual presentation. Tulog muna tayo. Okay, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And now I am requesting again our resident parliamentarian, Ma'am Janine Gamao Balt, for the BYP Special Awards.
Hello, assalamualaikum ulit. Ayun, so, ang ganda ng video, di ba? Sige, nakaka-touch din yung mga ano ninyo, yung mga testimonials ninyo. And sa ganitong klaseng programa po, yung dahilan kung bakit kapag pumupunta po ako ng mga island provinces, ay marami po akong kaibigan. Yes po. Sige, so to announce, ayun, nagwi-wave sila sa camera. To announce, meron po tayong i-award na Outstanding Committee, Outstanding Interpellator, Outstanding Proponent, Outstanding Parliamentarian, and Most Passionate YP. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng YP? Yun. Sige po. So mag-start tayo sa Outstanding Committee. May we request our dear Chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission and at the same time Member of the Parliament, MP Marjani Makasalong Mimbantas, and our dear Commissioners from Maguindanao, SJA and Cotabato, Tawi-Tawi, Sulu, and Basilan to come here para i-honor yung ating mga na-choose na mga kasama. Sa gitna po, for photo ops. At sana po, kahit na-close po tayo, wala pong namuong mga mga love team, char. Meron, sabi ni Jeff, lang, fall in love with the problem lang. Wag with your fellow YPs. Ay, sige po, to award. And also, mga maas na to, Ma'am, Sir MP Sahi Uja and Sir MP Faiz Alaudin. Ay, syempre. Lagi po akong nasa island provinces, kaya nagpa-practice po akong mag-sinog. Yes po. Ang outstanding committee, yung mga a-awardan po natin, automatically disqualified po yung ating officers kasi officers na nga po sila. And nakita natin kung gaano nila ginampanan ng maayos yung kanilang mga roles. Palakpakan naman natin yung ating mga officers. Yes po. So for outstanding committee, may I call on to stand up muna. Committee on Education. Ayan. Pwede pa tayong pumunta dito sa harap para for photo ops. Makasama natin ang ating mga distinguished late reaction. Ayun. Oo nga.
12 public Christmas answers.
Yeah, totoo na yon. Sige po. Baka pwede po tayong umupo sa baba. Dito po. Nakitaan po kayo ng Regional Organizing Committee ng inyong teamwork, ng inyong passion. Yes po. Ng iyong commitment. Now, with or without the secretariat, the facilitators, the volunteers, and all, ay kayo po ay nagtatrabaho. Congratulations po. Wow, nakaka-touch naman. Okay. And the next award, wala po kaming ipamimigay na 1 million pesos or 500,000 or 100,000, but receiving an award for this first ever Bangsamoro Youth Parliament would be your bragging rights forever that you were once become an outstanding in the first ever Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Okay, next is outstanding proponent. Outstanding proponent. May bet ba kayo? Sana parehas tayo ng bet with the regional organizing committee. May I call on Mr. Moner Ramos Dato. So, hindi niya alam na siya. Ayon. So, certificate po ang ating award, and also a lifetime bragging right that once in Bangsamoro Youth Parliament ay naging outstanding proponent ako. We have witnessed how he graciously answered all of the questions. Bibigyan daw ng iPhone 15, wag 14 kasi malapit na yung 14, 15. Malilintikan tayo pag iPhone 14. Sige po. Okay, congratulations. Next is outstanding interpellator. Meron ba tayong bet? At sana ulit parehas tayo ng bet. Okay. May I call on our YP, Mr. lalaki, Mr. Jamal Pandapatan as our outstanding interpellator. We witness gaano siya yan, congrats. Outstanding interpellator. Walang atake sa tao, atake lang sa issue. Okay. Ay. Sige po. The next is our most passionate YP. Most passionate YP. Nakita natin kung nandun yung burning desire para ipaglaban yung every issue na dala niya. May I call on, congratulations, Jelani Mangundato! Ayan, daming fans. Ganun yung passionate. Daming fans. Oh, para. Kita nyo naman din siguro sa video kanina, no? May ebidensya kung gaano siya ka-passionate. Congratulations, Mr. Jelani Mangundato. Ikaw po ay may house and lot sa kabilang buhay. Pag ikaw ay hindi mag-asawa ng 4. Joke lang. Joke lang. Sige po. Next, yung pinaka-last. Our outstanding parliamentarian. Meron na silang tinuturo. Sinong tinuturo ninyo? Patingin nga. Talaga? So yung tinuturo, sino siya? Baka parehas tayo ng result. Okay. Our best parliamentarian for the first ever Bangsamoro Youth Parliament ay no other than Glenn Mayor Bagani! Yes po. So tama kami. Parehas po tayo ng gusto. Yes. Deserve. Yes. So safe ang resident parliamentarian at ang regional organizing committee na ganito yung naging resulta dahil yun din po pala ang inyong mga bet. So nakita natin how mature Mr. Bagani is sa kanyang, saan siya? Ayun. Gaano siya ka-mature to handle things. Kung congratulations po at yan po ang ating mga outstanding members ng Parliament sa Bangsamoro Youth Parliament. Maraming salamat po sa ating mga distinguished guests sa pag-witness. Yun ang over. Sa pag-witness ng ating awarding. Ayan po. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, there you have it. Congratulations to our awardees. And now, marking this program, may we request our very own chairperson of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, MP Marjani S. Mimbantas Makasalong, for the oath-taking to the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament as alumni. We are requesting our parliamentarians to please rise.
Tayo. Ito hindi over, hindi over. Na. Sige ho. Ivy, okay na? Okay na sila? Sige. Tadeng! Oath of alumni ito kailangan na? Sige, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I, please state your name, of course. Do solemnly pledge my loyalty to the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament Alumni Association as an alumna of the first Bangsamoro Youth Parliament 2021. I swear to uphold the noble ideals of the program and to dedicate myself to further developing my intellectual capability for the cause of social development in the Bangsamoro. I promise to commit myself to the work of serving humanity wherever my life touches those of others in the realm of Parliament, and to advocate freedom and justice, as well as to obey the laws of the state. I will endeavor to win my place among alumni who have brought honor and recognition to the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament by their devotion to this ideal. I will ensure that my path as a youth parliamentarian is in a manner worthy of the Almighty, of the Bangsamoro region, and my fellow Bangsamoro. So help me Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to our young parliamentarians. There you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, let us always remember that this is not the end. Rather, it's just the beginning of our journey as parliamentarians, as young advocates, and as beholders of the future. To our fellow youth, the first ever Bangsamoro Youth Parliament 2021 is now signing off. Okay, but before that, again, we'll be having a closing message coming from the Commissioner of Maguindanao, Cotabato City, and SGA, none other, Commissioner Nas Dunding.
Yung music, Day. Ayan. Okay, sige. Sige. Sige, as someone who was tasked by our chairperson na tignan yung detail ng programang ito, yung proseso nung paggawa ng BYP was not easy because kami sa BYC, nag-promise kami ng almost 27 programs na gagawin para sa taong ito, and ito yung pang 27. Etong BYP na ito. Ito yung grandest activity ni BYC. And siguro nakikita niyo rin sa page namin, lalo na kami nila MP, yung ating operation team, ewan ko kung 4 months na, 5 months or 6 months na rin kaming hindi maayos na nakakauwi sa aming mga bahay, sa aming mga tahanan, sa aming mga pamilya, para lang ma-fulfill yung promise na ito, na sa taong ito, hindi dapat maging dahilan, hindi pwedeng habang buhay na maging dahilan din yung pandemic na hindi natin nare-reach out yung iba't ibang halls ng Bangsamoro Autonomous Region para maramdaman nila na yung Bangsamoro government na ipinangako ang lahat ng panahon ng kampanya para sa Bangsamoro Organic Law ay kailangan maramdaman sa ground. Gusto ko lang pasalamatan and siguro lahat tayo on behalf of MP and the N-Bank as someone na parating representative ng N-Bank sa operation, sa admin and finance, being tasked by our chairperson, yung aming operation team, yung regional organizing committee, palakpakan po natin. Tumayo naman po lahat muna, yung mga kasamahan namin, maaring kami lang, mamaya na kayo. Maaring kami lang yung nakikita na ninyo sa frontline, pero napakarami pong magagandang kamay ang nagtatrabaho para lang maramdaman ninyo na mga youth parliamentarians kayo at maramdaman ninyo na may care sa inyo ang Bangsamoro Youth Commission. Again, may I request the employees of the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, the volunteers, the facilitators to please rise. Mamaya na po yung ulam. Ayan. So, tignan nyo po, nasa iba't ibang corners po. Sorry, yung food committee, syempre nasa labas, sinaleng. Pero yun po, yung iba't ibang mga tao na nasa Bangsamoro Youth Commission na sinisecure po na may kape, may pagkain, nasa tamang oras, nagpiprint. Habang kayo ay nagdedebate, sila naman yung natutulog para hintayin na matapos yung mga batas ninyo at makapag-print ng kung bibilangin natin ay almost 134,000 copies of bills simula na nagsimula itong Bangsamoro Youth Parliament na yon. I would like also to request on behalf of the N-Bank and our chairperson, all of our youth parliamentarians to please rise as well. Tap the person near you and say, you did a great job. Okay, sa left naman po, also mention the word, you did a good job. Ayan, sobrang close na kayong lahat. Oo, ay kanina ang daming emotional sa chat box, kaya nadamay kami sa Regional Organizing Committee. Sige, upo na po tayo. Mamaya, we can have our hugs, no? Pero alam nyo may pandemic, so medyo ingat-ingat tayo doon. But yes, again, to conclude this, maraming ulit salamat sa inyong pagmamahal, sa inyong respeto. On behalf of the Regional Organizing Committee, sabi ni Janine kanina, wala pong perfectong organizers. Kami na mga kilala ninyo, sina MP, yung mga commissioners natin, yung mga kasama natin sa Bangsamoro Youth Commission, nakikita nyo kami as mga full-time organizers ng mga panahon. Pero kayo mismo, mga organizers din kayo ng mobilization, ng youth empowerment, walang perpektong organizing. At humihingi kami ng dispensa kung mayroon man po iilan sa inyong mga expectations na hindi naibigay o hindi narating para maibigay sa inyo ng Bangsamoro Youth Commission, ng Regional Organizing Committee, and yun po yung mga learnings namin. Don't worry, kami po, led by our chairperson, kahit po anong oras na kayo natatapos, ay isinisingit po namin magkaroon ng assessment, isinisingit po magkaroon ng reflection para makita rin namin sa sarili namin kung ano yung pagkukulang ng mga organizers. In having event like this, reflections, and looking up kung ano yung mga gaps sa ating lahat is very important para nagde-develop yung programs natin, di ba? Hindi pwedeng stagnant lang na kung ano lang yung nakikita natin, kung ano lang yung dapat yun na. We need to innovate every day because our mind is also innovating. Minute by minute, from time to time, nagbabago yung pangangailangan natin tulad natin mga kabataan. So sana po, baunin natin yung magagandang mga alaala natin sa activity na ito. Gayon din yung mga emosyonal na mga alaala natin dito. And magiging masaya kami. No? Years from now, makikita namin kayo ng mga successful na mga politicians, mga successful na mga debaters, mga successful na mga lingkod bayan dito sa Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Muli again, maraming salamat. Mahigpit na yakap sa Regional Organizing Committee. Hindi ko kayo kayang isa-isain, pero may role kayong bawat isa. At syempre, sa lahat po ng ating mga youth parliamentarians. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Mabuhay po ang kabataang Bangsamoro. Ayun, yun na po. Maraming salamat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. And the Bangsamoro Youth Parliament, Batch 1 is now signing off.
Alhamdulillah. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. That marks our event. To our parliamentarians.